Two violent troublemakers step onto a crowded city bus and begin harassing an elderly black passenger. They insult him, crowd his seat, and act as though no one around has the courage to interfere. But sitting nearby is Frank Vega, an aging man with a thick beard and the patience of someone who has survived far worse. Frank calmly stands and warns them to leave the passenger alone. He even offers his own seat, hoping to end the problem without a fight. Instead, they mistake his calmness for weakness. They follow him down the aisle, surround him, and challenge him before everyone. That is a terrible decision. The moment one makes a move, Frank explodes into action. Despite his age, he is faster and tougher than either expects. Within seconds, both attackers are on the floor as the shocked passengers cheer. To understand how an old man handles two younger fighters so easily, we have to go back decades. Frank grew up in a hard-working California family with little money. His life was simple but happy. He worked beside his parents, enjoyed small things, and fell deeply in love with a young woman named Lindsay. Frank believed he knew his future. He would marry Lindsay, build a home, and live peacefully. Then the Vietnam War changed everything. Frank was sent overseas, promising Lindsay he would return, but the conflict dragged on for years. During that time, Frank endured brutal combat, serious injuries, and experiences that stayed with him long after the war. When he finally returned, the life he dreamed about no longer existed. Frank went to see Lindsay, only to discover she had married another man and started a family. She had moved forward while Frank was trapped in a war that seemed to steal his youth. With his personal life shattered, Frank tried rebuilding through work. He applied to the police academy, hoping his military training and service would count for something. Instead, his injuries prevented his acceptance. Finding another job was equally difficult. Frank had no college education, and employers repeatedly rejected him. After serving his country, he returned to a society with no place for him. Eventually, Frank began selling hot dogs from a street cart. It was not the future he imagined, but it helped him survive. He continued for decades until a modern food truck arrived and took nearly all his customers. By then, Frank had spent most of his life unnoticed. That changes with the bus fight. A passenger records the confrontation and uploads it online. Within hours, Frank becomes an internet sensation. People call him Badass, turning the forgotten veteran into a local hero. His face appears on shirts, walls, and videos. Reporters chase him for interviews, television shows invite him, and even police treat him like a celebrity. For the first time in years, Frank feels seen. More importantly, his mother Juanita witnesses the city celebrating her son. Her pride means more to Frank than the cameras and attention combined. Unfortunately, the happiness does not last. 3 months later, Juanita passes away. She leaves Frank her house and dog, giving him a permanent home after years of uncertainty. Frank moves in, but the large house feels painfully empty without her. His closest friend, Klondike Washington, soon joins him. Klondike is another Vietnam veteran, and one of the few who truly understands what Frank endured. Their friendship began during the war, and after all these years, they are more like brothers. One evening, Klondike gives Frank a USB flash drive and asks him to hide it securely. He does not explain what it contains, only making clear that it must remain safe. Frank does not question him. He locks the drive inside the house. Later that night, Klondike goes out to buy cigarettes. Walking through an alley, he is confronted by two armed men named Terrence and Sebastian. They demand the flash drive, revealing Klondike is involved in something far more dangerous than Frank realizes. Klondike refuses to give them information. When they threaten him, the old veteran fights back and briefly overpowers them. But as he tries to escape, one attacker shoots him. Klondike never makes it home. Frank is called to identify his best friend's body. Seeing the man who survived a war beside him, lying motionless, destroys something inside Frank. He demands police find those responsible, but the officers offer only familiar promises to do everything they can. Officer Malark later visits Frank and assures him the investigation is moving forward. Frank wants to believe him, but days pass without an arrest or meaningful update. Then Frank sees a report about another local case. A young man has been murdered, and police quickly capture a suspect. Frank cannot understand why that case received immediate attention, while Klondike's death was pushed aside. When he returns to the station, he receives the same vague answers. Frank has spent most of his life waiting for others to give him a chance. He refuses to wait while his best friend's killers disappear, so he investigates the murder himself. Frank returns to the alley where Klondike was attacked and searches the ground. Police may have overlooked the area, but Frank's military experience taught him to notice what others miss. He discovers a spent bullet casing and a small pendant containing a woman's photograph. The pendant looks personal, meaning one attacker may have dropped it during the struggle. Frank takes both objects to a nearby pawn shop. The casing offers little help, but the shopkeeper recognizes the pendant. It belongs to a local criminal named Terrence, and the woman pictured is his wife. With an address, Frank visits Terrence's home. A tired woman answers with her children nearby. She explains Terrence has not returned for several days and does little to support his family. Frank returns the pendant and asks where her husband spends his time. She says Terrence often meets friends at a neighborhood basketball court. Frank goes there and questions the players. At first, the young men laugh and refuse to cooperate. They see only an old man standing alone on their court. Once again, someone makes the mistake of judging Frank by his age. After a painful demonstration of what the veteran can still do, their attitude changes. The players admit they do not know Terrence's location, but give Frank another name, Ronaldo. Terrence and Ronaldo are close friends, meaning Ronaldo may know exactly where the killer is hiding. Now Frank finally has a real lead, and he is not going home until he finds the truth. Following the address from the basketball players, Frank arrives at Ronaldo's apartment. A nervous man dressed like a priest opens the door, but the outfit is only a costume for a stage performance. Frank does not care. The costume means nothing to Frank, who has already lost too much time chasing men connected to his friend's murder. He grabs him and demands Ronaldo's location. Realizing the angry veteran will not leave without an answer, the roommate reveals that Ronaldo spends his mornings at a bar called the Velvet Scorpion. While Frank closes in, the people behind Klondike's death begin panicking. Panther, the gang leader controlling Terrence and Sebastian, is summoned by Mayor Williams. The mayor is preparing for re-election, and the missing flash drive contains information that could destroy his career. He angrily reminds Panther that Klondike should never have been killed before the drive was recovered. Panther promises to fix the problem. He controls the streets and believes Frank is only an old man seeking revenge. By now, several younger men have made that mistake. When Frank returns home, he hears an argument next door. His neighbor Amber is fighting with her husband, Martin Sr., who has become aggressive and cruel. He hurts Amber before storming away, leaving her frightened and injured. Frank brings her inside and treats the wound on her face. He also meets her young son, Martin Jr., a smart, outspoken kid who recognizes him from the viral bus video. For a few quiet hours, they sit together like an unlikely family. After losing his mother in Klondike, their company gives Frank something he has not felt in years, a reason to enjoy being home. The next morning, he goes to the Velvet Scorpion. The people inside recognize him, but his internet fame does not impress them. When Frank asks for Ronaldo, several men block his path and order him out. Frank warns that he only wants to ask a question. They turn it into a fight. Within moments, chairs fall, bodies hit the floor, and the bartender begs Frank to stop destroying the place. He finally points upstairs, where Ronaldo is hiding. Ronaldo answers Frank's questions by pulling a knife. Frank quickly disarms him and leaves him hanging outside an upper-floor window. As Frank's grip starts slipping, Ronaldo becomes much more cooperative. He reveals that Terrence has been seeing a woman named Tatiana, who works at a massage parlor on 10th Street. After leaving, Frank is stopped by Officer Malark. News of his private investigation has spread, and the police chief nearly issued a warrant for his arrest. Malark warns that he is attacking suspects, breaking into places, and interfering with an active case. Malark also makes clear that the chief is losing patience and will not tolerate Frank's vigilante methods forever. Frank replies that he would not need to interfere if police had shown the same urgency. Malark insists Frank is getting too deep and may not be able to protect him much longer. Frank does not want protection. He wants justice. At home, he discovers someone has broken in and torn through his belongings. Before he can search the rooms, a large intruder grabs him from behind and demands Klondike's flash drive. Frank pretends ignorance. The moment the attacker relaxes, Frank turns the situation around and throws him through a window. The attack proves Klondike was carrying something far more valuable than Frank imagined. The discovery confirms that Klondike was not killed over a simple street dispute, but because he held proof of a political conspiracy. Since Frank barely understands computers, he asks Martin Jr. to examine the drive. The boy finds neighborhood maps, city permits, property records, contact lists, and repeated references to Panther. The files expose a larger operation. Mayor Williams wants the oil beneath the neighborhood, but hundreds of families live on the land. To drive them away cheaply, Panther's organization has been increasing crime and making the area unsafe. Once property values collapse and residents leave, the mayor's people can seize the land and begin drilling. Klondike discovered the plan while working around Panther. Instead of staying silent, he stole the evidence. That choice cost him his life. Frank understands what happened, but still needs every name involved. He books an appointment with Tatiana and casually asks about Terrence. Her reaction immediately gives her away. Tatiana claims they are no longer together, then abruptly ends the appointment and rushes out. Frank follows her home. As he tries entering through a window, an armed neighbor catches him. Frank invents a story about being Tatiana's boyfriend, but the man believes none of it. Then he recognizes Frank from the bus video. His suspicion becomes excitement. Instead of calling police, he praises Frank and mentions that Tatiana usually leaves her back door unlocked. Frank enters and finds Tatiana upstairs with Terrence. Terrence reaches for a weapon, but Frank moves first and knocks him down. He drags him into the kitchen and demands the truth about Klondike. Terrence refuses, so Frank pins his hand above the running garbage disposal. As his fingers approach the blades, his loyalty quickly disappears. Terrified, Terrence admits Sebastian fired at Klondike, but both were following Panther's orders. Their job was to recover the stolen drive and silence Klondike before he exposed the operation. When Frank demands Panther's location, Terrence names his hideout, the Bergamot Loft. Frank finally knows who ordered his best friend's death. On the way home, he again hears shouting from Amber's house. Martin Sr. has returned even more violent. Frank steps inside and orders him to leave her alone. The jealous husband accuses Amber of being involved with Frank and attacks him. Frank locks his arm, forces him toward the door, and makes clear that he will never touch Amber again. Martin Sr. leaves humiliated, damaging the front door during the struggle. Amber thanks Frank and notices his exhaustion. Martin Jr. is staying at a friend's house, so she invites Frank to rest and return for a home-cooked meal. Frank accepts faster than he wants to admit. He spends the afternoon preparing like it is the most important mission of his life. He showers, trims himself, wears his best suit, and arrives carrying flowers. Amber is stunned by the transformation. During dinner, Frank praises her cooking, while Amber admits how good it feels to cook for someone appreciative. She explains her husband was not always cruel. He once seemed exciting and loving, but gradually became someone she no longer recognized. Amber first assumed Frank was simply an angry old fighter. Now she sees the gentle man beneath the beard and scars. They move closer, but before their first kiss, Martin Jr. unexpectedly returns because his friend was punished and the sleepover canceled. The romantic moment disappears, but the evening is not ruined. The three eat, joke, and use the computer together. Martin helps Frank create an email account and introduces him to social media. Since Amber's front door cannot be secured, Frank insists she and Martin stay at his house. Panther's men are searching for the drive, making it too dangerous to leave them alone. Before confronting Panther, Frank takes the USB to Malark. He explains that it connects to Klondike's murder and contains evidence powerful people will do anything to recover. Malark asks him to step back and let the department continue. Frank has already decided. He asks Malark to hide the drive, and, if he does not return, look after Baxter. Frank then visits a church. Inside the confession booth, he admits making many mistakes, but what he is preparing to do may be the one act he can never take back. He is going after the man who murdered the only brother he had left. That night, Frank walks into the Bergamot Loft and asks for Panther. The guards recognize him. Panther has heard about the bar fight and Terrence. Instead of attacking Frank at the door, he invites him inside. Panther admits Klondike worked for him. According to him, Klondike betrayed the organization by stealing confidential files and paid the price. Now, Panther wants the drive. Frank claims he does not know where it is. The gang overpowers him, straps him to a chair, and uses electric shocks for answers. Panther expects pain to break him quickly, but Frank survived years of combat and imprisonment. Compared with Vietnam, these methods are nothing new. No matter how much they hurt him, Frank mocks them instead of revealing the drive is with Malark. Panther searches Frank's wallet and finds his address. Realizing Amber may be there, he decides to use her to force Frank's cooperation. Panther believes threatening Amber will finally accomplish what the electric shocks could not and make Frank surrender the evidence. Panther leaves while his men continue torturing Frank. That is their mistake. Frank kept a book of matches from dinner with Amber. Once Panther leaves, he frees one hand, lights a match, and ignites nearby fuel. Flames spread through the warehouse, creating enough chaos for him to escape. Panther sees the explosion and hijacks a city bus. Frank stops another bus in the street. The driver recognizes Badass and happily gives him the vehicle after hearing someone's life is in danger. A wild chase tears through the city. The buses smash into cars, rip through traffic, and send terrified drivers diving aside. Frank catches up and forces Panther's bus toward a railway crossing. Both vehicles are wrecked, but Panther crawls out and continues toward Frank's neighborhood on foot. Frank is injured and barely walking, yet refuses to stop. Along the way, the same two skinheads from the original bus confront him. Their defeat made them an online joke. ruined their reputation, and got them removed from their group. Now they plan to film themselves beating Frank and replace the humiliating viral video with their own. They attack while recording and again discover that fame never made Frank dangerous. He drops both men, leaves their camera filming the humiliation, and continues after Panther. By the time Panther reaches Frank's house, Amber is alone. He enters with a knife and demands the drive, but she truly does not know where it is. Just as he prepares to hurt her, Frank appears. The men crash through the house into the front yard. Frank is exhausted from torture, the explosion, bus crash, and chase, while Panther remains strong enough to overpower him. Panther knocks him down and prepares to finish the fight. Amber jumps onto Panther's back, giving Frank seconds to recover. He rises, delivers one final blow, and drops Panther before the neighborhood. The people who once saw Frank as only a forgotten old man now gather and applaud. Police arrest Panther. With the drive safely in Malark's hands, investigators uncover payments linking Panther directly to Mayor Williams. The scheme to force residents out and seize their land becomes public, leading to the mayor's arrest along with the remaining gang members. Frank has not only solved Klondike's murder, he has saved the neighborhood Klondike died protecting. For his actions, Frank becomes an honorary police officer in charge of community outreach. More than 40 years after the academy rejected him, he finally gets to serve his city. But the badge is not his greatest reward. Frank now shares his home with Amber, Martin, and Baxter. Sitting together at another family dinner, he realizes that after spending most of his life believing his best days were behind him, he has finally found the life he always wanted.